ladies and gentlemen. As you know, the Joint Coordinator, Mrs. Sigrid Kaag, has just briefed the Security Council members on the latest developments related to the implementation of the plan of evacuation, destruction, and destruction of the chemical materials in Syria. She corroborated in her briefing and confirmed all the evidences that we had submitted to both the Secretary General as well as to the members of the Security Council on the deterioration of the security situation surrounding the area of the port of Latakia. Due to the shelling and bombing by the terrorist armed groups who crossed the border coming from the Turkish territory and who shelled the port of Latakia with qualitative weapons with a range of 27 kilometers. These weapons are provided to the terrorist armed groups by the Turkish government, the Qatari government, and the Saudi government. Exactly as we said in many letters that we addressed to the Secretary General and the members of the Security Council during the last 10 days. During the last 10 days, I sent on behalf of my government 10 official letters. 10 official letters in 10 days. 3 letters during the last weekend, drawing the kind attention of everybody on the seriousness of the involvement of these 3 governments into the bloodshed of the Syrian people, as well as in the invasion of the area of Kassab. The terrorist groups belong, all of them, to Al-Nusra Front, Al-Qaeda, as well as other Islamist terrorist groups trained, sponsored, financed, protected by the Turkish government, armed and media covered by Saudi Arabia and Qatar. The situation is very alarming in the area of the countryside of Latakia. As you know, fights are still continuing between the Syrian army and these terrorist groups who all crossed our border coming from Turkey. I sent myself a letter on behalf of my government to the Secretary General and the President of the Council, and I briefed you a couple of days ago on this issue. And finally, we got an answer from the Turkish ambassador in which he did not deny the leak, the audio tape, as you know. He did not deny it. On the contrary, in his letter, he confirmed what we said. So, not denying means they did it. They did it. They conspired against our sovereignty, and they wanted to commit an aggression, military aggression against our country by bluffing and staging a so-called aggression from the Syrian territory into the Turkish territory. This was the plan staged by the Deputy Chief of the Turkish intelligence in the presence of the Minister for Foreign Affairs as well as the Deputy Chief of Staff of the Turkish Army. They planned to send some terrorists inside Syria and ask them to shell 8 rockets or 8 missiles on the Turkish territory so that they would have a pretext to assault Syria and to attack Syria. That was more or less the nature of the leak of the audio tape which I mentioned in my last briefing to your good self. The Qataris were there, according to the leak, the Qataris were there to finance buying Turkish weapons to be given to the terrorist groups. So now we are dealing with the flagrant picture of aggression by a member of the NATO, Turkey, by two other member states in this organization, Qatar and Saudi Arabia, an aggression against the sovereignty of a full-fledged member state in this organization, a founding member, which is Syria. We haven't seen so far anybody in this Security Council, especially among the influential guys who are allies of Turkey and Saudi Arabia and Qatar. We haven't seen any one of them taking the slightest step towards making any serious pressure on the Turkish government with regard the military attack against on the area of Kassab, where thousands and thousands of Syrian Armenians have fled, and many of them got killed, slaughtered by these terrorist groups under the full-fledged coverage, military coverage of the Turkish army. We haven't seen anybody raising a finger to make a serious pressure on the Turkish government so that this government makes in its turn a serious pressure on the armed terrorist groups to refrain from shelling the port of Latakia while loading the chemical materials on board of the ships. So these people who speak always about how dangerous the chemical issue is are merely hypocrites, and they are not responsible at all. Mrs. Carr briefed the Council. She didn't complain about any lacking cooperation on the Syrian government side. On the contrary, she said everything is fine. Of course, the deadline set up by the Syrian government and Mrs. Carr, of course, and the OPCW will not be possible to be respected fully unless the security situation evolve in the right direction. In this case, the influential guys who have influence over these terrorist groups should make their best to guarantee that the convoys carrying the chemical materials will not be attacked and the port of Latakia will not be attacked. I would like to read out for you something also very important, which comes from the report of the Executive Director of OPCW, in which he acknowledged that, and I quote, "A significant quantity of chemicals has been removed from the territory of the Syrian Arab Republic." A significant quantity. So the Executive Director acknowledges that an important part of the chemicals has been removed from the territory of the Syrian Arab Republic. Then he says that a total of 11 shipments of priority chemicals has made its route to the port of embarkation at Latakia. Then he says that 35% of declared priority 1 chemicals and more than 80% of declared priority 2 chemicals, making a combined total of 49.3% of priority 1 and priority 2 chemicals planned for destruction outside the Syrian Arab Republic, have now been removed from Syrian territory. Removed from Syrian territory. And the destruction process, if there is any delay, is not our responsibility, because the destruction process should take place outside of Syria, not inside of Syria. So this is also something important to be, worth it to be mentioned. The conclusion of the report of the Executive Director, the conclusion of the report, he says, with the accelerated pace of removal that is now underway, important progress has been made towards meeting the June 30th, 2014 deadline for the completion of destruction of all declared chemicals. The executive director is saying that important progress has been made towards meeting the June 30th, 2014 deadline. And then, of course, the Syrian Arab Republic has reaffirmed its commitment to the complete elimination of its chemical weapons by this deadline. Unfortunately, some members in the Council who claim being in charge, actually they don't only claim, according to the Charter, they are in charge of maintaining peace and security, have unfortunately boycotted today and blocked a Russian proposal to come out to you with press elements on the meeting, press elements that express a serious warning by the Council of the consequences of these terrorist attacks on the port of Latakia against the shipments of the chemical materials. Some guys in the Council objected to this Russian proposal, and this is why nobody came to address you with this important issue today. They would favor create problems inside rather than extinguishing the fire outside and inside. So I'm saddened to tell you that the Russian initiative did not go further because of this objection by some other colleagues in the Council, permanent members. It's really a pity to see these delegations taking such a biased and dangerous and irresponsible initiative towards a very alarming issue such as shelling the convoys transporting the chemical materials.
I wanted to ask about Kassab in particular that you were mentioning. The Syrian coalition put out a statement saying that it was the Free Syrian Army that, quote, liberated Kassab. And there's been some dispute about who actually did it. Some of the P3 are saying they don't have any control or contacts with those who took Kassab. According to you, was it ISIS? Was it al-Nusra? And what evidence is there of who actually took the town?
This is, again, a pitiful attempt to falsify facts. Al-Nusra Front, Al-Qaeda, and the other so-called Islamist groups, terrorist groups, have put on their websites footages of their attack coming from the Turkish territory, and you can see these footages on their website. So those who perpetrated these crimes are all, all of them came from Turkey, and they are presenting themselves as members of Al-Nusra Front, Al-Qaeda, and other Islamist groups. We have facts, we have confessions, we have dozens of Saudi killed in the area. I have here a very important article published today by a Saudi writer in Saudi Arabia, speaking about the Saudi killed in Syria, who is sending them and why they are killed there. And he is giving hundreds of names of Saudis killed in Syria. Many of them got killed in Kassab. I could give you, if you want, names of some very dangerous members of Al-Qaeda and Al-Nusra Front, and they are all Saudis. I have, of course, the article in Arabic. It's an article that was published in Saudi Arabia itself today. So one of them got killed in Raqqa, the other one in Tadmur, Palmyra, another one in Homs, then in Kassab, another one in Kassab, third one in Kassab. I mean, I could provide you with a whole list. Listen to this. Among these killed Saudis, there are military men, Saudi guys from the military Saudi army. One of them is Uwaid bin Musallat bin Fahid al-Harthi, soldier in the National Guard. Sultan bin al-Hamidi bin al-Harbi, captain in the army, killed in Kassab. Saif bin Jam'an al-Malki, sergeant in the Air Force, Saudi Air Force. Ali Abdul Rahman Mu'mina, lieutenant colonel in the Ministry of Defense in Saudi Arabia. These are just samples of the names published in this article. So we are not dreaming, we are speaking facts, and we are just repeating to you what the Saudis themselves wrote today in one of their newspapers. Nobody could hide the sun anymore. Nobody could hide the sun anymore. Nobody could hide the facts anymore. Those who are sponsoring the terrorists in Syria will bear the consequences of their acts.
سعادة السفير، طبعا المندوب التركي اتهمكم بأنكم تدعمون جبهة مثل داعش. أيضا مندوب فرنسا تحدث اليوم على أن عدم شحن الأسلحة الكيميائية مرده يعود إلى مضايقة المقاتلين من المعارضة لمناطق مثل القرداحة، واعتبر أن ذلك اقتراب كثير من بلدة سيادة الرئيس. ما هو ردكم على هذه المزاعم؟
الفهم الفرنسي كان منذ بداية الأزمة قاصرا عن الإحاطة بمجريات ما يجري في سوريا من أزمة، وتجلى هذا النقص في الفهم والمعلومات من خلال انحياز فرنسا بالمطلق، الحكومة الفرنسية بالمطلق، إلى جانب الإرهاب في سوريا، وتنسيق المواقف بين باريس والدوحة وأنقرة والرياض في موضوع تسليح الإرهاب في سوريا. ثم انتقلت فرنسا مرحلة أخرى أخطر عندما أعلن الرئيس الفرنسي استعداده للقيام بعمل عسكري، عدوان عسكري ضد سوريا كما تذكر. إذن فرنسا ليست حيادية في نظرتها للأزمة في سوريا، والفهم الفرنسي أو المدرسة الفرنسية السياسية في فهم ما يجري في منطقتنا كان على مدى التاريخ فهما قائما على المنطق الطائفي والمنطق التفتيتي للمنطقة على أسس مذهبية ودينية وتفريقية وليست جامعة. آخر من يحق له الكلام حول هذا الموضوع هو الحقيقة الوفد الفرنسي، السفير الفرنسي، لأنه من الناس الذين حرضوا على استمرار العنف في سوريا، ولأن السياسة الفرنسية كانت جزءا لا يتجزأ من الأزمة في سوريا، وليست جزءا لا يتجزأ من الحل السلمي والسياسي في سوريا. على كل حال، الذين يجب أن نميز بين معارضة وطنية في سوريا وهي ضرورة، وإذا لم يكن هناك معارضة وطنية في سوريا لتوجب اختراعها، هذا أمر من جهة، ومن جهة ثانية التمييز بين تلك المعارضة الوطنية وبين الجماعات المسلحة الإرهابية. لو كانت فرنسا حريصة على الحل السياسي والسلمي في سوريا لدعمت توجهات المعارضة الوطنية السلمية، بدلا من دعم تلك المعارضات بين قوسين يسمونها معارضة هي إرهاب وفقا لتصنيفات مجلس الأمن، هي مجموعات إرهابية، بدلا من دعم هذه المجموعات الإرهابية في مهاجمة خطوط الغاز والنفط وأبراج الكهرباء ومحطات القطارات وشبكة خطوط الكهرباء والاعتداء على قواعد الجيش. هذه ليست معارضة. من يقوم بتدمير البلاد هذا ليس معارضة وطنية، هدول إرهابيين. وعندما فرنسا تدعم هذه الفئات فيعني ذلك أن فرنسا منخرطة تماما في إذكاء الأعمال الإرهابية في سوريا، وعليها أن تتحمل مسؤوليتها أمام اللجان الفرعية لمجلس الأمن المعنية بمكافحة الإرهاب.
ماذا بالنسبة لاتهام تركيا لكم بأنكم تدعمون داعش، تنظيم داعش؟
التسريب الذي حصل من قبل وسائل الإعلام التركية حول تلك المحادثة بين وزير الخارجية ونائب رئيس الأركان التركي ورئيس المخابرات تشير بما لا يقبل أدنى مجال للشك إلى جملة قيلت على لسان رئيس المخابرات، ومفادها أننا لكي نفبرك عدوانا تركيا على سوريا يمكننا، باعتبار أن الناس لا يتعاطفون مع القاعدة، يمكننا أن نرسل أشخاص إلى الأراضي السورية لإطلاق من أعوان تركيا، من الإرهابيين الذين يتعاملون مع تركيا. يمكننا أن نرسل أعواننا إلى داخل الأراضي السورية ويطلقوا صواريخ على الجانب التركي، وسنقول، وهذا كلام رئيس المخابرات التركي، وسنقول حينها بأن هؤلاء يعملون مع داعش ومع القاعدة لكي يبرروا عدوانهم اللاحق على سوريا. بمعنى آخر أنهم يريدون أن يبرروا العدوان بالقول أنهم إنما يعاقبون داعش والقاعدة. فهذا النمط من التلاعب الاستخباراتي التركي أصبح مفضوحا، والسلوك التركي أصبح مفضوحا، وحكومة أردوغان منخرطة حتى العظم في هذا العمل العدواني على سوريا.
Are they trying to
Not delay,
delay?
catastrophe. They want to undermine the whole program of cooperation between the Syrian government on one hand and the joint mission of the OPCW and the United Nations.
The Syrian government will break this deadline of July 30th.
Number one, break the deadline. Number two, create a catastrophe. A catastrophe in the port of Latakia. It's a civilian port. Thousands of civilians are there with the international experts also, Mrs. Kar and the others. So they are trying to create a catastrophe in the area, expose the lives of these international staffers as well as the Syrian civilians to serious danger, and create somehow a reason that would trigger further steps taken by our friends in the council against the Syrian government. They want to embarrass the government, show the government as incapable of continuing the process of getting rid of these chemical materials. Of course, when the Turkish side allow these terrorists to cross the border and to come with weapons and to start shelling the port of Latakia, that means they have in their mind a goal. They have a goal in their mind.
Very short follow-up. So although the OPCW is saying that they can meet this deadline, so from your point of view, if these kind of attacks continue, you maybe not.
It's not my point of view. It's a fact. It is what Mrs. Kar said today in her briefing. She said that while I am talking to you, the mortar shells are landing in Damascus, and the mortar shells and the rockets are landing in the port of Latakia. She said that. It's not my point of view.
Ambassador, thank you very much. Can you clarify when was the attack on the shipment in Latakia? When was it was first targeted?
They attacked it many times. They conducted their attacks many times.
And the last time it's continuing right now?
On the 23rd.
On the 23rd.
On the 23rd.
The second question is, are there...
But they are still shelling the port of Latakia till now.
Is there are you pulling up troops in there just to create like a safety zone?
We have troops over there, of course. Thank you.